At the end of part 3, Suwa Squad is shifting gears once more, taking a shot and creating cheese strategies, and this time, Mikumo is finally able to stand up to the plate with Suwa banking on him to get the job done. This is part 4 of the Away Mission Examination Review, and if you enjoy this video, feel free to support however you deem fit. Resuming in chapter 224, all the teams are adjusting to the increase of units. Mizukami does admit that even he may have a hard time adjusting, though the atmosphere around the other squads is a bit different. Going to Kitazoe's squad, Kikuchihara seems to have caught on early about this addition, and in preparation for it, opts to take the special assignment so that way everyone else can focus on the sims. Ko's team operates on splitting the extra units, that way not one person is overwhelmed. Kodera's squad is still playing for the long haul, opting to use the day to gather more data so that going beyond, they can put all cards on the table and gain as many points as possible in hopes to catch up to first place. Again, keep in mind of the possibility of major upsets towards the end. However, Rokuta does seem to be silently struggling, and this is something we must keep an eye on. Urushima also decides to send a text around the same time, most likely in relation to Rokuta, but it's too early to assume anything quite yet. Wakamura squad is shifting things a bit more as Maori suggests putting Hiyuse in command. With their current status, things cannot continue to go down the same trend, and with Hiyuse's mindset, they may be able to get ahead of the spiral. This is merely the reality of the situation, and even Wakamura can understand that, as he agrees and gives the cosign to lead the team for the matches he is confident in. Day 3 is now in full swing, and we pull back to Suwa squad with Mikumo deep in thought, pushing ahead in the universal assignments as he works towards catching up, and acknowledging Suwa's consideration as the reason why he kept the convo about Mizukami to a minimum was so that he would not be distracted. Meanwhile, the battle sims do begin. While the first round against Kitazoe's squad does go well, the rest not so much. They lose against Karuma, Mizukami, Kodera, and the Nomiya, only one draw against Murakami. Teams are seemingly exploiting the weakest link and unfortunately falls right on Mikumo's plate. Then comes Special Assignment 3, and this one right here made me lean forward big time when I first saw it. Now, while this may be for the next generation, the one thing I do wish we could see is another Rank Wars. Perhaps in a smaller time frame overall, but Special Assignment 3 asks teams to come up with rules for a new match format different than the current structure of the Rank Wars. Alongside that, explain your reasoning, and you can add new elements to existing rules as well. Now, Suwa does decide to take the lead on this one, but when you slow down and really think about it, this is a massive question. One could easily think of this as groundwork for another Rank Wars if Ashihara wills it so, and imagine if Tamakoma does make it into A rank. We'd have a new format and it would apply to the Rank Wars as well, meaning we'd be in for one of the craziest shonen tournament arcs ever. Now, the battle sims do keep on going, and while Suwa squad does lose to Utagawa squad, they do manage to beat Wakamura squad, giving them their second win. What should be a morale boost is actually quite the opposite for Katori. On top of clearly not being satisfied with the results, seeing her teammates also low in the rankings seems to have delivered a blow that causes her to tap out mentally. I won't lie, out of the many things I was not expecting this arc, it still wasn't this. It's as if somebody pulled the plug on her completely, and now Mikumo ends up on cooking duty. At least he's not the only one going through it, as Wakamura squad is still in last place. It's clear that his leadership is struggling tremendously, and it's exposing his flaws as well. He realizes that his biggest weakness is his inability to make decisions fast. That hesitation and overthinking causes staggering results as we see now. It goes back to how Katori would act on her own because she knew it was the best course of action because of hesitancy. We're getting close to something groundbreaking for Wakamura, and he's merely gotta pull the trigger on his growth. Going back to Suwa squad, Katori is still not having it. Mikumo decides to look to her squad for help, starting with Hana. Unfortunately, she cannot help Mikumo, as in doing so would make her speak about Katori behind her back, and I think this is a really good moment to really reflect on their relationship. Going back to season 2, we gotta remember that these two have been through hell together, and the love they have for each other will not be broken even because of a test. I have to respect it, as through thick and thin, Hana is a true friend. Wakamura is also unable to give any input output, though Yuta seems to be just the man for the job. He lays it out as it is, stating that usually when her squad is struggling, that's when the mood starts to be impacted, which makes sense given we've seen her keep tabs on her crew's progress. Yuta suggests that a distraction might do the trick. Little did I know that Ashihara would throw Kurasuma under the bus to go on a date with her since she's such a major fangirl of his. Well, motivation is motivation, right? What matters most is that she's back in action, pulling us into chapter 226. Isn't it funny how this is the easiest thing that has ever happened in the entire series yet? Now there's a lot of exchange and developments that take place at this current moment. Starting with Suwa Squad, Suwa pretty much puts it on the table that in this home stretch it's all or nothing, as Mikumo must make it on to the away mission. Mad respect for setting the tone, but just as serious as he is, Katori is also very serious about her date with Kurasuma. Moving over to Kuruma Squad, Yuba's hard work also put their squad in a good place, on top of Hokari tackling the special assignment. Taichi also hit a nice dunk with the special assignment, earning 82 points for Kakizaki Squad, though the bickering is still going as strong as ever between the resident cat and dog. Ko's team is also giving some praise to Aki and her strat. Overall, fewer losses, but still being cautious about the rest of the competition. The Nomiya Squad gives their regards to Emma on the special assignment, and the man himself giving praise towards Amatori for stepping it up. Uragawa Squad gives their remarks towards Kotaro, and Kuga messes with Urashima about who he went to go text earlier, which in fact was about Rokuta. In preparation for dealing with the top competition as well, Kuga seemingly has an idea. Pulling us back to Suwa Squad. The biggest issue right now is Mikumo's overall lack of defense, and so to overcome that, we're turning to closing the gap with data. More specifically, the data that other teams have. Right now, everyone needs to maximize their gains, and if there's one person who can benefit from such an idea, it would definitely be Kodera, who we turn to, and after another round of Suwa being Suwa, jumps on board with the plan to exchange some info. Now, to give full clarity, both squads enter a speaker phone call, but to abide by the rules, former squad mates do not communicate with each other. Mikumo brings up the idea of the initial exchange, stating that it is what determines the outcome of the whole match. Think of when two samurais only exchange a first and final blow. We can apply a similar logic to the Sims when looking at the first unit kills. The minute the numbers begin to dwindle, that directly contributes to the loss of the match, thus putting emphasis on the first strike, for that can be the difference between winning and losing. Furthermore, in the case of the data that shows teams the stats of the units, it would appear that all teams have that data filled out at random, but nothing is consistent across the board. After Madoka and Rokuta compare notes, there are some gaps filled in. The icing on the cake is inquiring to Kodera about how they keep winning matches, since their squad suffers from a similar issue of low Tryon, which Mikumo is also struggling with. Kitora does intervene here and support the idea of sharing that information. In short, Mikumo would be better off equipping his usual Regas for defense as if it were the rank wars anyway. This level of communication does carry on over to Uragawa Squad as well, thanks to Kuga, but Mikumo is still missing one more piece of the puzzle. Now here, we get a really interesting approach to the overall team dynamic and utilizing the composition to its fullest. Mikumo makes a point that this team has three captains, himself, Katori, and Suwa. He continues on saying that the initial exchange is utilized the most depending on teamwork and getting all skills to work in tandem. Mizukami accomplishes this by controlling everyone and creating his own harmony. Now what if the same level of effectiveness could be recreated by dividing the leadership up among the three captains, each who know how to bring out the best results with what they have. Three mini squads still capable of widespread coordination and complex tactics, leaving Oki to focus solely on sniping and thus creating the ultimate Suwa Squad strategy, putting us into day 4. The timing couldn't be better for Suwa, with Mizukami finally having to fold on his strategy as he prepares to inform his team what he's really been up to. Oh, this comeback is about to be crazy. Now as the truth comes out, the rest of the team are pretty much rolling with the punches, but Teruya is absolutely flabbergasted, which all things considered, who could blame her, but this moment being what it is has the attention of all the A ranks. There is a time and place for everything, and with so much on the line, perhaps biting the bullet bullet would be the better option. Mizukami does keep it straight with the team, stating that the advantage of solo play was his own making and that the team being able to use their smarts for the assignments made the most sense at the time. If he could have avoided it, he would not have this conversation altogether, but obviously circumstances have changed. He was overall trying to avoid the negative outcome that comes with having a discussion and produce results that would be the best possible for his team. It may have been a bit risky, but it did manage to work out thus far, and it's hard to argue against it without burning up too much time. Sticking to his guns and in the anticipation of her response by the A-ranks, Tsuruya ends up conceding to this, which scores her some massive points. She at least gets something out of it, as a pretty please from Mizukami can certainly light a fire, leading the team to prepare for the days ahead with their biggest and only wall now down between them. Pulling us back to Suwa Squad, Mikumo has one more adjustment he's thinking about adding to the universal assignments. Towards the end, there are 4 separate video clip problems, and with 5 people, that amount is 20 questions. In order to maximize the amount of points that can be obtained, Mikumo opts to take a picture of the question list, divide them up, and then rewatch the video each time on everyone else's laptop in order to bring together 20 efficient answers. Now, this definitely sounds like it could be cheating, but the spin here lies in the problem title. Each problem is set to test out skills, and one of the skills being creativity, which means that this could be spun as a way for squads to come up with their own method of getting the best answers down. Suwa is quite frankly on board, and in good faith, Kotori does insist on sharing this method with Wakamura Squad so they may catch up as well. What goes around comes around, as a bone is also tossed to Kotori through Mikumo from Miura. He tells them to basically reevaluate the use of Kotori's penchant skill. Now this skill is one that is exclusive to Kotori's unit, as it lets her utilize the skills of other units. This was mentioned earlier but was overlooked because they did not realize the full potential. For my anime only folks out there, this is actually something you will see happen briefly in season 4, as there is one more Rank Wars battle to conclude the season post Tamakoma 2 victory. In this one, Kotori uses Mikumo's wires in her own custom way, showing how she takes one idea and makes it her own, hence the penchant. We see that she can use a ton of skills from other units, and thus puts Kotori's unit in a bit of a flex position that nobody will see coming. As the final strats are prepared, we swing back on over to Kodera Squad, and we come back to that worrisome moment with Rokuta. Unlike a lot of other operators, she is not that great at parallel processing and is struggling with the battle sims, but thankfully Uroshima's text was already on the ball. They suggest to her to start tagging units, something in which Suwa Squad adapted early on. Now there is another interesting piece of lore dangling in the background regarding her history with Uroshima, but I believe that will come up during the battle portion, so for now I'll hold off. At last, the third round of battle simulations begin. This time starting with Team Suwa, Kakizaki Squad was a draw, though the match did go all the way to round 6, meaning the battle was a lot tougher to pull ahead in. Kitazoe Squad, however, absolutely decimated them thanks to Hana, striking a flame in Kotori, as are you really friends if not for some good competition? Against Ko, Kodera, and Karuma, Suwa Squad absolutely stomps, pumping out a triple victory. All squads are working with the ebb and flow, and the top brass are taking notes. Suwa Squad living up to their predictions, and even some praise going out to Kitazoe and OG for having strats that aren't asking from too much from the team, but are still producing great results. Thankfully, the teams are finally getting a break as well, as Kido declares that today will be no special assignment. While that may serve some well, the Nomiya Squad seems to be in a tough spot. It's noted that they are the one that is struggling today after staying on top for so long. We see Chika looking stressed as chapter 231 concludes on a worrying note from the Nomiya Squad and ending volume 26. In terms of this volume, this is by far the thickest team-centered dialogue so far in my opinion. The collaboration of squads in the lower to middle bracket is serving up quite nicely in this stretch, and now those who have had a strong lead are starting to feel the burn. For people like Wakamura and Rokuta, there are still some missing pieces of the puzzle, and I feel Ashihara has something very special planned for them. For now though, this will bring me to the end of this review. As always, thank you very much for watching, and make sure to let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be Be well out there until we meet again in volume 27.